Like for me, the hard thing is always remembering, the melody, the part just makes sense. I know what the end of the sentence is, so I know how to, in other words, I know the piece to know where the end of the sentence is. It doesn't, those aren't a problem for me, but it's just remembering all that. Everything else, yeah. I practice like beyond that practice. Yeah, just all these things are very short.
And what's the worst kind of the gamma?
It's funny because it's like I used a long time ago. I used to do kids for the bar stuff, but I would only do the students that nobody else wanted. So as a school director, and I would have those students that do. But it's like I haven't volunteered at all to do it. Like I don't feel like it's much easier to do that. Just then Oh yeah, you can see the name, yeah. Oh, Jim Green. I have no idea who he was.
Yeah.
I don't know how to know that
What?
All get up at once when they do reading.
Are you reading English?
Yeah.
What you're asking? I just asked Matt. So he said when the person who's reading the Hebrew of what you're reading in English is up there, then you go.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. All I know is it's Lisa. It's towards the end.
I'm at the beginning. So by then if you're at the end, then you'll figure out the best rhythm by the time. I think the idea is to keep it formal. Yeah, okay. Yours is the same pattern. What an idea. Costume that was
Yeah. Oh, that's cute. That's cute.
I literally thought of it when I was getting ready for that.
Oh, right. Always forgot.
Chag Purim, Chag Gadol HaYehudim, Masechot Rashanim, Smirot Rikudim, Havana Risha, Rush, Havana Risha, Rush, Havana Risha, Rush, Parashanim. Purim's here, 'tis a holiday so dear, mask and song, bring along, breakers loud and clear. Havana Risha, rush, Havanarisha, rush. Havanarisha, rush. Parashani. All right, let's do it in the Hebrew. Here we go. Chag Purim, Chag Gadol HaYehudim, Masechot Rashanim, Smirot Rikudim. Havanarisha, rush. Havanarisha, rush. Havanarisha, rush. Parashani. Havanarisha, rush. Havanarisha, rush. Havanarisha, rush. Parashani. Chag Sameach, everybody. And Chag Sameach to everybody watching online. How do you do? Glad to see you. If you're on Zoom and you want to turn your camera on, we'll be able to actually see you in here and wave to you. We'd love to know who else is with us. Welcome to everybody watching online and people watching our live stream. And I do think we've got a copy of the Megillah on our website. So if you want to follow along in the text, go to our website under virtual resources. You'll see a copy of the Megillah that we're going to read, and open that up so you could follow along. In honor of Carrie Klinetsky, this evening's magician, I just joined the Magicians Union Local 613. I felt it was the right thing to do, to be supportive, and we have to stick together, we magicians. If you're eating or drinking, that's great, wonderful. We have a lot of hamantashen, not to mention a lot of liquor. So please eat and drink, but do it outside, please. Okay, just take it, go outside, enjoy, come on back in. That's just fine. Little bit of prayer before we introduce our Megillah readers. On the first page of your Megillah. We come before you, O God, with words of thanksgiving for the blessing you have been to our people Israel and to all humanity. This day brings to mind the suffering we have endured in many generations, painful trials and bitter struggles. Torments of body and soul have often been our portion, but sustained by the hope that goodness and love would triumph over evil and hate, we have overcome. Remembering the courage of Esther and the devotion of Mordecai, we give thanks for the women and men of every age who have helped to keep our people alive. We shall yet see the forces of destruction, cruel Amalek and vindictive Haman, vanish before, can't wait, can you? Vanish before the mighty onrush of your light and your love. And although many a bitter experience may await us before prejudice and hate disappear, still we trust that in the end, all humanity will unite in love, knowing that they are one, children of the eternal God. Amen. Oh, once there was a wicked man, and Haman was his name, sir, who would have murdered all the Jews, though they were not to blame, sir. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be, and not so old. Are you making hamantashen? Is this? Who knows? I want to see what's coming out of this. And Esther was the lovely queen of King Ahasuerus. When Haman said he'd harm us all, oh my, how he did scare us. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And not some I'm not sure if this is something I really want to eat here.
Oh, it's good.
When Esther speaking to the king of Haman's plot did mention, aha, said he, oh no he won't, I'll spoil his bad intention. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And not some hamantashen. goodness. Okay.
Welcome everyone to Congregation Beth Emek's Purim Shpiel for secular year 2022. And Hebrew calendar year is not on this. 5782. I will be providing a bit of levity, some illusion, some wonder, while our studied chanters and translators will be providing the bulk of the story and why we're here. And with that, I would like to turn everything back over to Rabbi Milder.
We're going to recite the blessings for the reading of the Megillah. I've been practicing. Okay. Now, I'm going to invite up all of the Megillah readers in Hebrew, all the people doing the chanting, to come up and join me for the blessings for reading the Megillah. So doing our Megillah reading this evening, I'm doing the Hebrew chanters, okay? I'm not assuming the translators are doing this. So doing our chanting this evening, all these talented folks who have learned Esther trope, they're all going to be chanting you actually in the special melody that is used only for this one book of the Bible. This is the only book of the Bible that you use this melody for. And along with me, Claire Moran and Lisa Kama and Trish Monroe and Seth Lavender and Susie Mosca. And I think I got the order right there of all of our readers. Here we go. Are you ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddusharu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mikra Megillah. You can read with us. We praise you, O God, sovereign of existence, who has hallowed our lives with commandments and commanded us to read this scroll. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim la'avoteinu bayamim ha'hem bazman hazeh. We praise you, O God, sovereign of existence, who did miracles for our ancestors in those days as at this season. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'yanu lazman hazeh. We praise you, O God, sovereign of existence, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and enabled us to celebrate this festive day. Vayhi b'mei Achashverosh, Achashverosh, Amolech mehodu vad kush sheva, v'sarim u'mea medina, bayamim hahem, keshevet hamelech Achashverosh, al kisei malchuto, asher b'shushan habira, b'shnat shalosh l'malcho, asa hamishteh, Nishteh, l'chosarav, v'avadav, chel, barat sumadai, apartamim, v'sarei medinot, lefanav, b'haroto, et osher kavod malchuto, ve'et yikar, tiferet gedulato, yamim rabim, shmonim umat, yom. Is that it? Yep.
From his throne in Persia, in Persia's capital city of Shushan, King Ahasuerus ruled 127 provinces, all the way from India to Ethiopia. In the third year of his reign, he gave a banquet for all his officials and administrators. The armies of Persia and Media were present, as well as governors and noblemen of the provinces. For 6 whole months, he made a show of riches of the imperial court with all its splendor and majesty.
Uvim lod, hayamim ha'ele, asa melech l'chol ha'am ha'nimtzim, b'shushan ha'bira, l'migadol vad katan, mishteh.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. Shivat yamim b'chatzar ginat bitan hamelech chor karpas u'tchelet achutz b'chav levutz v'argaman agalile chesef v'amudei sheish mitod zahav v'chesef al ritzvat b'hat v'sheish v'darvis ocharet v'ashkot b'chlei zahav v'chelim mikelim shonim v'yein malchut rav kiyat hamelech v'ashtiach hadat enones kichein yisad hamelech al kol rav beito lasod kirtzon ish v'ish gam v'ashti hamalka asta yishteh nashim Beit hamalchut Beit hamalchut asher lamelech Achashverosh.
After that, the king gave a banquet for all the people in the capital city of Shushan, rich and poor alike. It lasted for a whole week and was held in the gardens of the royal palace. The courtyard, just like ours, was decorated with blue and white cotton curtains tied with cords of fine purple, linen to silver rings, and marble columns. Couches made of gold and silver had been placed in the courtyard, which was paved with white marble, red feldspar, shining mother of pearl, and blue turquoise. Drinks were served in gold cups, no two of them alike. The king was generous with the royal wine. There were no limits on the drinks. The king, Mishteh, the king had given orders to the palace servants that everyone could have as much as they wanted. Meanwhile, inside the royal palace, Queen Vashti was giving a banquet for the women.
My turn. That's quite all right. And the king was generous with his wine, and it was flowing. For the royal table was stocked with 4 bottles of his best wine. And the drinking would continue, and pretty soon, 1 bottle was gone, 2 bottles were gone. But the king called for more, of course. And sure enough, there were 1, 2, 3, 4 bottles of wine for all to have and all to drink. Now the drinking continued, as it would. I mean, it's a feast for days. Sure enough, 1 more bottle, 2 more bottles. And the king would call for more wine. And sure enough, there'd be 1, 2, 3, 4 more bottles of wine. This would continue on and on. Every time a couple of bottles were drank, the king would call for more. And yet there would always be 1, 2, 3, 4 bottles. It's a good thing to be the king. Oh, that was a missed opportunity for a line. But after 6 days of drinking and drinking, finally the king had not just 1, not just 2, not just 3 bottles of wine, but finally on that 4th bottle of wine, what we were left with was a very intoxicated king. Thank you. And Claire.
Step out of the way.
I don't think so.
Do you need me to hold that for you? Right there, right?
Bayom hashvi'i ketov lev hamelech bayayin amar limuman bista harvona bikta ve'avakta zetar ve'charkas shivat hasarisim hamisharitim et b'nei hamelech Achashverosh להביא את ושתי המלכה לפני המלך בהתר מלכות, להראות העמים והשרים את יופייה, כי טובת מורה היא, ותימהן המלכה ושתי, לבוא בדבר המלך אשר ביד הסריסים, ויקסוף המלך מאוד, והבתו בערבו.
On the seventh day of his banquet, the king was drinking and feeling happy. So he called in the 7 eunuchs, who were his personal servants, Mehuman, Bizta, Charona, Bigta, Avgata, Zethar, and Karkas. The king ordered them to bring Queen Vashti. She was a beautiful woman and he wanted to show her off. But when the servants told Queen Vashti of the king's command, she refused to come. This made the king furious.
ויאמר המלך לחכמים יודעי העתים, כי הן דבר המלך לפני כל יודעי דת ודין, והקרוב אליו. קרשנה שתר עד מטה תרשיש, מרס מרסנה ממולחן, שיבת שרי פרס ומדי, רואה פני המלך היושבים ראשונה במלכות, כדת מה לעשות במלכה ושתי, אשר לא עשתה את מאמר המלך אחשוורוש ביד הסריסים.
Now, it was the king's custom to ask for expert opinion on questions of law and order. Bum, bum. So he called for his advisors, who would know what should be done. Those he most often turned to for advice were Kershana, Shetar, Admatha, Tarshish, Merez, Marsena, and Memucan. Who? Oh, that's right. 7 officials in the kingdom. He said to these men, I, King Ahasuerus, sent my servants to Queen Vashti with a command, and she refused to obey it. What does the law say that we should do with her?
ויאמר ממולחן לפני המלך והשרים, לא על המלך לבדו, אבתה ושתי המלכה, כי על כל השרים ועל כל העמים, אשר בכל מדינות המלך אחשוורוש, כי יצא דבר המלכה על כל הנשים, להפסות בעליהן בעיניהן, באמרם, המלך אחשוורוש אמר להביא את ושתי המלכה לפניו ולבא. ועל יום הזה תאמרנה שרות פרס ומדי, אשר שמעו את דבר המלכה Leho, Sarei HaMelech. Leho, Sarei HaMelech. Uktai Bezayon Vakatzef.
Then Memucan declared to the king and his officials, Queen Vashti has insulted not only the king, but all of his officials. Yeah. In fact, every man in the empire, every woman in the empire will start looking down on her husband as soon as she hears what the queen has done.
Imagine.
Imagine that, right? They'll say, King Ahasuerus commanded Queen Vashti to come to him, and she refused. When the wives of the royal offices hear about the queen's behavior, they will be telling their husbands about it before the day is out. Wives everywhere will have no respect for their husbands, and husbands will be angry with their wives. It could happen.
אחר הדברים האלה כשו קמת המלך אחשוורוש זכר את ושתי ואת אשר עשת ואת אשר נגזר עליה ויאמרו נערי המלך שרתיו יבקשו למלך נערות בתולות טובות מראה ואבקת המלך בכיתים בכל מדינות מלכותו ויקבצו את כל נערה ותולה טובת מראה אל שושן הבירה אל בית הנשים אל יד הגה סריס המלך שמר אנשים ונת שום סריס המלך שמר אנשים ונתון תמרוקיהן והנערה אשר תיטב בעיני המלך תמלוך תחת ושתי ויטב הדבר בעיני המלך ויעש כן איש יהודי היה בשושן הבירה ושמו מרדכי בן יאיר בן שמעי בן קיש איש ימיני אשר הוגלה מירושלים עם הגולה אשר הוגלתה עם יחוניה מלך יהודה אשר הגלה נבוכדנצר מלך בבל ויהי אומן את הדסה היא אסתר בת דודו כי אין לה אב ואם ונערה יפת תואר וטובת מראה ופמות אביה ואמה לקחה מרדכי לא לבד.
Later, even after the king's anger had cooled down, he kept thinking about what Vashti had done and his proclamation against her. So some of the king's advisors who were close to him suggested, why don't you make a search to find some beautiful young virgins? You can appoint officials in every province of the empire and have them bring all these beautiful women, young women, to your harem here in Shushan, the capital city. Put them in the care of Haggai the eunuch, who is in charge of your women, and let them be given a beauty treatment. Then take the young woman that you like best and make her queen in Vashti's place. The king thought this was good advice, so he followed it. There in Shushan lived a Jew named Mordecai, son of Yair. He was from the tribe of Benjamin and was a descendant of Kish and Shimei. When King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon took King Joachim of Judah into exile from Jerusalem, along with a group of exiles, Mordecai was among them. He had a cousin, Esther, whose Hebrew name was Hadassah. She was a beautiful young woman.
You want to close your window of the
At the death of her parents, Mordecai had adopted her and brought her up as his own daughter.
ויהי כבר מלך ודתו ויקבץ נערות רבות אל שושן הבירה אל שושן הבירה אל יד הגיא ותלקח אסתר בית המלך אל יד הגיא שומר אנשים, ותיטף הנערה ועיניו, ותישא חסד לפניו, ויבהל את המוכה ואת מנותיה לתת לה, ואת שבע נערות הראויות לתת לה מבית המלך, וישניה ואת נערותיה לטוב בית הנשים. לא הגידה אסתר את עמה ואת מולדתה, כי מרדכי ציווה לה אשר לא תגיד, ובכל יום ויום מרדכי מתהלך לפני חצר בית הנשים לדעת שלום אסתר מה יעשה בה. ובהגיע תור נערה ונערה לבוא אל המלך אחשוורוש מקץ היות לה כדת הנשים 12 חודש, כי כן ימלאו ימי מרדכיהן 6 חודשים בשמן המור ו6 חודשים בבשמים ובתמרוקי הנשים. ובזה הנערה באה אל המלך עד כל אשר תאמר יינתן לה לבוא עמה מבית הנשים עד בית המלך בערב היא באה, ובבוקר היא שבה אל בית הנשים שני אל יד שאשגז סריס המלך שומר הפילגשים. לא תבוא עוד אל המלך כי היא אם חפץ בה המלך ונקרא בשם. ובהגיע תור אסתר בת אביחיל דוד מרדכי אשר לקח לו לבד לבוא אל המלך, לא ביקשה דבר כי אם את אשר יאמר הגיא סריס המלך שומר אנשים. ותהי אסתר נושאת חן בעיני כל רואיה, ותלקח אסתר אל המלך אחשוורוש של בית מלכותו בחודש עשירי חודש טבת בשנת 7 למלכותו.
Breathe. Breathe. When the king had issued his proclamation and many young women were being brought to Shushan, Esther was among them. She too was put in the royal palace in the care of Haggai, who had charge of the harem. Oh, sorry. I won't start over though. Haggai liked Esther and she won his favor. He lost no time in the beginning of her beauty treatment, massage, and special diet. He gave her the best place in the harem and assigned 7 young women specially chosen from the royal palace to serve her. Now, on the advice of Mordecai, Esther had kept it a secret that she was Jewish. Every day, Mordecai would walk back and forth in front of the courtyard of the harem in order to find out how she was getting along and what was going to happen to her. The regular beauty treatment lasted for a year. Whew! Massages with oil of myrrh for 6 months and oil of balsam for 6 more. Woo, I could do that too. After that, each woman would be taken to King Hashverosh. When she went from the harem to the palace, she could wear whatever she wanted. She would go there in the evening, and the next morning she would be taken to another harem and put in the care of Sha'agash, the eunuch in charge of the king's concubines. She would not go to the king again unless he liked her enough to ask for her by name. The time came for Esther to go to the king. Esther, the daughter of Abigail and the cousin of Mordecai, who had adopted her as his daughter. Esther, admired by everyone who saw her. When her turn came, she wore just what Haggai, the eunuch in charge of the harem, advised her to wear. So in Ahasuerus's 7th year as king, in the 10th month, the month of Tevet, Esther was brought to King Ahasuerus in the royal palace.
Thank you, Liz. There were very, very many young possible queens in Shushan. But thankfully, Haggai managed to narrow it down to 6 finalists in a game I like to call Roll for Your Queen. And I'm going to need some of your help, are going to narrow it down with the roll of a die. Very simple. Just roll 6 dice, or 6 sides of a die, 6 suitors. And we're just going to eliminate one by one, just like all good or not so good matrimonial competitions tend to be. So if you roll a 5, we'll eliminate number 5. If you roll a 2, we'll eliminate number 2. Pretty simple. Until we get down to 1. Would you mind helping? All you have to do is roll. And we're going to eliminate 5. And unfortunately, there will be no Queen Elmo. That's really probably for the best. Sorry, Elmo. Susie, would you like to roll? 6. What queen could it have been? Now, I hear sometimes Purim is referred to as Jewish Halloween, but this would be ridiculous as we do not have Queen Elvira. Maybe the king would have liked. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. Claire, would you roll? We already eliminated 5. Please roll again. 1. Number 1. Ah, the fair Queen Elsa. There would be no merger of Persia and Arendelle tonight. Just let it go. Okay. It writes itself, people. Okay, Robin. We only have 3 to go, or 3 to choose from. No, we need another number. 4. 4. Oh. See, the other queens, or potential queens, would have been green with envy. This is a little ridiculous. Queen Elphaba. Might have been a little too wicked. Simon?
Oh, thank you.
You got either roll a 2 or a 3.
Here we go.
A 4. No, you got to roll again. No setting it up.
Close.
We want random here.
5.
Maybe I should have Sharon roll.
4. A
A
1.
1. You're hitting most of them. A 3. A 3. Which eliminates Queen Edsel. Nice curves. Probably wouldn't last more than a couple of years. Oh, I'm glad someone gets the joke. It just shows how old we are. Okay. Which, of course, leaves number 2. Queen Esther. Thank you, everyone, for choosing by random roll the future queen. Thank you.
I'm so glad, because otherwise we'd have to stop the story. It would be, yeah. Okay. Vayahav Hamelech et Esther mikol anashim vatisachen v'chesed lefanav mikol habtulot vayasar miketer malchut berosha vayamlichecha tachat vashti vayas hamelech mishtei gadol l'chosarav v'avadah 8 Mishtei Esther. V'haraka labdinot asa vayten maset kiyat hamelech uvikavet betulot shenid u'mordechai yoshe b'shar hamelech ein Esther. Ma'gedet molad vetama kasher siva leha Mordechai vetma mar Mordechai Esther asa kasher haytavomna ito.
The king liked her more than any of the other women, and more than any of the others, she won his favor and affection. He placed the royal crown on her head and made her queen in place of poor Vashti. Then the king gave a great banquet in Esther's honor and invited all his officials and administrators. He proclaimed a holiday for the whole empire and distributed gifts worthy of a king. Meanwhile, Mordecai had been appointed by the king to an administrative position. As for Esther, she had still not let it be known that she was Jewish. Mordecai had told her not to tell anyone, and she obeyed him in this, just as she had obeyed him when she was a little girl under his care.
Vayamim haim Mordechai Yoshe b'shar hamelech katzav bigtan v'teheresh. Say hamelech yishomrei hasav vayivakshul lishlo achad b'melech achashverosh vayivadah hatavart leMordechai vayaged l'Esther malka vatomer. Vatomer Esther lamelech b'shem Mordechai vayivukash hadavar vayimatzei vayitalu shnehem aleitz vayikatev b'sefer divrei hayamim lifnei hamelech.
During the time that Mordecai held office in the palace, Bigtan and Teresh, two of the palace eunuchs, who guarded the entrance to the king's room, became hostile to King Ahasuerus and plotted to assassinate him. Mordecai learned about it and told Queen Esther, who then told the king what Mordecai had found out. There was an investigation, and it was discovered that the report was true. So both men were hanged on the gallows. The king ordered an account of this to be written down in the official records of the empire.
That side, how about this side? Right there.
Ahar hadvarim ha'ele gidal hamelech Ahashverosh et haman. Ben hamdata ha'agagi vainasehu vayasem et kiso me'al kol hasarim asher ito v'chol avdei hamelech asher b'shachar hamelech korim u'mishtachavim lehaman ki hein siva lo hamelech u'Mordechai lo yikra v'lo yishtachaveh Vayomer avdei hamelech asher b'shachar hamelech. I lost my. LeMordechai maduach ata over et mitzvat hamelech Vahi kamra melav yom vayom velo shama alehem vayagidu lehaman le'ot hayamdu divrei Mordechai ki higid lahem asher hu Yehudi vayar Haman ki ein Mordechai korei umishtachaveh lo umale Haman hema vayivez beinav lishloach yad ve'Mordechai levado ki higidi lo et Mordechai vayvakesh Haman lechashmid wait, where am I? Shouldn't be making the motion. Lehashmid et kol haYehudim asher bechol malchut Ahashverosh Mordechai bechodesh harishon hu hodesh Nisan bishnat shetem esrei lemelech Ahashverosh hapil pur hu hagoral lifnei Haman miyom liyom mechodesh lechodesh nemasar hu hodesh adar.
Sometime later, King Ahasuerus promoted a man named Haman to the position of prime minister. Haman was the son of Hammedatha, a descendant of Agag. The king ordered all the officials in his service to show their respect for Haman by kneeling and bowing to him. They all did so except for Mordecai, who refused to do it. The other official, don't do that. The other officials in the royal service asked him why he was disobeying the king's command. Day after day, they urged him to give in, but he would not listen to them. I am a Jew, he explained, and I cannot bow to Haman. So they told Haman about this, wondering if he would tolerate Mordecai's conduct. Haman was furious when he realized that Mordecai was not going to kneel and bow to him. When he learned that Mordecai was a Jew, he decided to do more than punish Mordecai alone. He made plans to kill every Jew in the whole Persian Empire.
Wow.
In the 12th...
Whoa. That's pretty dark. But the story's a story. We're going to go with it. I'm going to need a little bit of help. Someone who's not afraid of playing the part of old Cookie Head himself. Haman. Ooh. If you don't mind, but it's okay. I got the appropriate hat for you. See?
Oh.
No. Arts and crafts time is my time. Sure.
I don't know where your hat's been.
It's okay. It's been tested. Oh, it's okay. We're going to... Now, Purim, of course, is all about, well, it means lots. So I have a lot. If you don't mind stepping over here, because we got the camera already. So you're gonna help draw the lots to find out the date from this authentic, ancient lot drawing bag. I believe in Aramaic it's pronounced ziplach. Or lach. I'm not quite sure. We're still working on it. And as you can tell, we have different possibilities, like the 5th of Elul, or
The 13th of the dark.
might be. Well, let's see. What else have we got? It could be the 3rd of Tevet. There's a few in here. Now, I want you to be. You're going to be the one drawing, so this is on you. Okay. Just want you to reach in and just pull out one.
Just one.
Only one. And they might be a little bunched up, so just one. Then don't look at it. Just make sure you got one. You got more than one. You got one. Now, Skylar. What is the actual date that Haman chose in the reading?
In the reading, the 12th. She didn't know there was a quiz? No, I didn't know there was
It's your next line. That's okay.
No, it's not. The 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, was decided on.
Simon, will you please read out which one you chose?
The 13th of Adar.
Whoa!
Paid later.
There'll be drinks aplenty. Thank you for your help.
Very impressive.
And nice going, Haman. What are we going to do? All right. Thank you, Skylar.
There's a trick here. Yeah.
Let's see. Give me my thing.
Yeah.
Where am I?
No, it's not.
Yeah, she just got her line. That was it. She just read it.
Okay, this is this.
There.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wait a minute. Let me get rid of my mask.
Right, in the 12th year, yeah, that part was, yeah, I got to finish my reading. Hang on. Oh. In the 12th year of King Ahasuerus' rule, in the first month, the month of Nisan, Haman ordered lots to be cast. Purim, they were called, to find out the right day and month to carry out his plot. And we got the rest of this. The 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, was decided on. Great.
Vayomer Haman LaMelech Achashverosh Yeshno Am Echad Mefuzar Umefurad Ben Hamim B'cho Medinat Malchutecha B'datehem Shonot Mecho Am ואת דתי המלך אינם עושים, ולמלך אין שווה להניחם. אם על המלך טוב ייכתב לעבדם, ו10,000 כיכר כסף אשכול על ידי עושי המלאכה, להביא על גנזי המלך, ויסר המלך את טבעתו מעל ידו, ויתנה לחמן בן המדתה האגגית צורר היהודים, ויאמר המלך להמן, הכסף נתון לך, והעם לעשות בו כתוב בעיניך.
So Haman told the king, there is a certain race of people scattered all over your empire and found in every province. They observe customs that are not like those of any other people. Moreover, they do not obey the laws of the empire, so it is not in your best interest to tolerate them. If it please your majesty, issue a decree that they are to be put to death. If you do, I guarantee that you will be able to put 375 tons of silver into the royal treasury for the administration of the empire.
Spoken like a true treasure.
How did that happen? The king took off his ring and gave it to the enemy of the Jewish people. Haman, son of Hammedatha, the descendant of Agag, the king told him, the people and their money are yours, do as you like with them.
ומרדכי ידע כל אשר נעשה, ויקרא מרדכי את בגדיו, וילבש שק ואפר, ויצא בתוך העיר, ויזעק זעקה גדולה ומרה. ויבוא עד לפני שער המלך, כי אין לבוא אל שער המלך בלבוש שק, ובכל מדינה ומדינה, מקום אשר דבר המלך ודתו מגיע, אבל גדול ליהודים, בצום ובכי ומספד, שק ואפר יוצא לרבים, ותבואנה נערות אסתר וסריסה, ויגידו לה, ותתחלחל המלכה מאוד, ותשלח בגדים להלביש את מרדכי, ולהסיר שקו מעליו לא קיבל, ותקרא אסתר להתך מסריסי המלך אשר העמיד לפניה, ותצווהו על מרדכי לדעת מה זה ועל מה זה.
Just one request. I only have one H word, so when I do it, go crazy. Thank you. When Mordecai learned of all that had been done, he tore his clothes in anguish. Then he dressed in sackcloth, covered his head with ashes, and went through the city, wailing loudly and bitterly, until he came to the entrance of the palace. He did not go in because no one wearing sackcloth was allowed inside. Throughout all the provinces, wherever the king's proclamation was made known, there was great mourning among the Jews. They fasted, wept, wailed, and most of them put on sackcloth and lay in ashes. When Esther's servant women and eunuchs told her what Mordecai was doing, she was deeply disturbed. She sent Mordecai some clothes to put on instead of the sackcloth, but he would not accept them. Then she called Hatach, one of the palace eunuchs appointed as her servant by the king, and told him to go to Mordecai and find out what was happening and why.
Don't you feel bad for the guy? I mean, after all, Hatach, that is. Yeah. All right, now, ויצא התך אל מרדכי, אל אורחו, ויעיר אשר לפני שער המלך. ויגד לו מרדכי את כל אשר קראו ואת פרשת הכסף אשר אמר המן לשקול על גנזי המלך ביהודים לעבדם ואת פתשי גן כתב הדת אשר ניתן בשושן להשמידם נתן לו להורות את אסתר ולהגיד לה ולצוות עליה לבוא אל המלך להתחנן לו ולבקש בפניו על המה.
Am I going? Yep. Hatak went to Mordecai in the city square at the entrance of the palace. Mordecai told him everything that had happened to him and just how much money Haman had promised to put into the royal treasury if all the Jews were killed. He gave Hatak a copy of the proclamation that had been issued in Shushan ordering the destruction of the Jews. Mordecai asked him to take it to Esther, explain the situation to her, and have her go and plead with the king and beg him to have mercy on her people.
ויבוא התך ויגד לאסתר את דברי מרדכי ותאמר אסתר להתך ותצווהו אל מרדכי כל עבדי המלך ומדינות המלך יודעים אשר כל איש ואישה אשר יבוא אל המלך אל החצר הפנימית אשר לא יקרא לחטאתו להעמיד לבד מאשר יושיט לו המלך את שרביט הזהב וחיה ואני לא נקראתי לבוא אל המלך זה 30 יום ויגידו למרדכי את דברי אסתר ויאמר מרדכי להשיב אל אסתר אל תדמי היא ונפשך להימלט בית המלך בכל היהודים כי אם החרש תחרישי בעת הזאת רווח והצלה יעמוד ליהודים ממקום אחר ותובית אביך תובתו ומי יודע אם לעת כזאת הגעת למלכות.
Hatak did this, and Esther gave him this message to take back to Mordecai. If anyone, man or woman, goes to the inner courtyard and sees the king without being summoned, that person must die. That is the law, everyone. From the king's advisors to the people in the provinces knows that. People in the provinces knows that. There is only one way to get around this law. If the king holds out his golden scepter to someone, then that person's life is spared. But it has been a month since the king has sent for me. When Mordecai received Esther's message, he sent her this warning. Don't imagine that you are safer than any other Jew just because you are in the royal palace. If you keep quiet at a time like this, help will come from heaven to the Jews, and they will be saved, but you will die, and your father's family will come to an end. Yet who knows? Maybe it was for a time like this that you were made queen.
ויהי ביום השלישי ותלבש אסתר מלכות ותעמוד בחצר בית המלך הפנימית נוכח בית המלך והמלך יושב על כיסא מלכותו בבית המלכות נוכח פתח הבית ויהי חירות המלך את אסתר המלכה עומדת בחצר נשא חן בעיניו ויושת המלך לאסתר את שרביט הזהב אשר בידו ותקרב אסתר ותיגע בראש השרביט ויאמר לה המלך מלך אסתר המלכה ומה בקשתך עד חצי המלכות וינתן לך ותאמר אסתר אם על המלך טוב יבוא המלך המן היום אל המשתה אשר עשיתי לו ויאמר המלך מהרו את המן לעשות את דבר אסתר, ויבוא המלך והמן אל המשתה אשר עשתה אסתר.
On the third day of her fast, Esther put on her royal robes and went and stood in the inner courtyard of the palace, facing the throne room. The king was inside, seated on the royal throne, facing the entrance. When the king saw Queen Esther standing outside, she won his favor, and he held out to her the golden scepter. She then came and touched the tip of it. What is it, Queen Esther? The king asked.
You gotta be kidding.
Tell me what you want, and you shall have it. I can't believe I got Even if it was half my empire. Esther replied, if it please your majesty, I would like you and Haman to be my guests tonight at a banquet that I am preparing for you. Then the king ordered Haman to come quickly so that they could be Esther's guests. So the king and Haman went to Esther's banquet.
ויאמר המלך לאסתר במשתה היין, מה שאלתך וינתן לך, ומה בקשתך עד חצי המלכות ותעש. ותען אסתר ותאמר, שאלתי ובקשתי, אם מצאתי חן בעיני המלך, ואם על המלך טוב לתת את שאלתי ולעשות את בקשתי, יבוא המלך והמן אל המשתה אשר עשה להם, ומחר עשה כדבר המלך, ויצא המן. ביום ההוא שמח וטוב לב, וכירות המן את מרדכי בשער המלך, ולא קם ולא זע ממנו, וימלא המן אל מרדכי חמה, ויתאפק המן, ויבוא אל ביתו, וישלח, ויבא את אוהביו ואת זרש אשתו.
Over the wine, the king asked her, tell me what you want and you shall have it. I will grant your request, even if you ask for half my empire. Esther replied, if your majesty is kind enough to grant my request, I would like you and Haman to be my guests tomorrow at another banquet that I will prepare for you. At that time, I will tell you what I want. When Haman left the banquet, he was happy and in a good mood. But then he saw Mordecai at the entrance of the palace, and when Mordecai did not rise or show any sign of respect as he passed, Haman was furious with him, but he controlled himself and went on home. Then he invited his friends to his house and asked his wife Zeresh to join them.
ויספר להם המן את כבוד עשרו ורוב בניו, ואת כל אשר גידלו המלך, ואת אשר נישאו על השרים ועובדי המלך. ויאמר המן, אף לא הביאה אסתר המלכה עם המלך אל המשתה אשר עשתה, כי אמותי, וגם למחר אני קראו לה עם המלך, וכל זה איננו שווה לי בכל עת אשר אני רואה את מרדכי היהודי יושב בשער המלך. ותאמר לו זרש אשתו וכל אוהביו יעשו עץ גבוה 50 אמה, ובבוקר אמור למלך ביטלו את מרדכי עליו, ובואו עם המלך אל המשתה שמח, וייטב הדבר לפני המן. ויעץ העץ.
He boasted to them about how rich he was, how many sons he had, how the king had promoted him to high office, and how much more important he was than any of the king's other officials. What is more, Haman went on, Queen Esther gave a banquet for no one but the king and me, and we are invited back tomorrow. But none of this means a thing to me, as long as I see that Jew Mordecai sitting at the entrance of the palace. So his wife and all his friends suggested, why don't you have a gallows built 75 feet tall? Tomorrow morning you can ask the king to have Mordecai hanged on it, and then you can go to the banquet happy. Haman thought this was a good idea, so we had the gallows built.
B'layla hu nadada shenad hamelech vayomer lahavi et sefer zikronot tivrei hayamim vayunikraim lifnei hamelech Vayimatzeh chatuv asher higid Mordechai al bigtan avateresh shnei sarisei hamelech mishomrei hasav asher bikshu lishlach yad v'melech achashverosh Vayomer hamelech manasa yikar ugdula leMordechai al zeh Vayomeru narei hamelech b'sharatav lo naasa imo davar Vayomer hamelech mi v'chatzer v'amar Ba lachatzar beit hamelech achitzona lemor lamelech Litlot et Mordechai al ha'etz asher echin lo vayomeru narei hamelech elav hine Haman omed bechatzer vayomer hamelech yavo vayavo Haman vayomer lo hamelech ma lasod vayish asher hamelech hafetz bikaro vayomer Haman Delivaho, lemi yakpot hamelech, lasot yakar yoter mimeni, vayomer Haman el hamelech, ish asher hamelech hafetz bikaro, yaviu levush malchut, asher lavash bo hamelech v'sus. Asher chavalav hamelech, asher nitan, keter malchut, birosho, menaton halavush, v'hasus. Al yadish b'sarei hamelech apartamim v'lbishu et haish asher hamelech hafetz bikaro v'kivu alasus bercho va'ir v'karu lefanav kacha yaseh laish asher hamelech hafetz bikaro vayomer hamelech Vayomer hamelech lahaman maher kach et halavush vet hasus kasher dibarta vasechen leMordechai hayudi hayoshev shar hamelech al tapeh el davar mikol asher dibarta.
That same night, the king could not get to sleep, so he had the official records of the empire brought and read to him. The part they read included the account of how Mordecai had uncovered a plot to assassinate the king. The plot made Bigtana, and Teresh, the two palace eunuchs who had guarded the king's rooms. The king asked, "How have we honored and rewarded Mordecai for this?" His servants answered, "Nothing has been done for him." "Are any of my officials in the palace?" the king asked. Now, Haman had just entered the courtyard. He had come to ask the king to have Mordecai hanged on the gallows that was now ready. So the servants answered, "Haman is here, waiting to see you." "Show him in," said the king. So Haman came in, and the king said to him, "There is someone I wish very much to honor. What should I do for this man?" Haman thought to himself, "Now, who could the king want to honor so much? Me, of course." So he answered the king, "Have royal robes brought for this man, robes that you yourself wear. Have a royal ornament put on your own horse. Then have your highest nobleman dress the man in these robes and lead him mounted on the horse through the city square. Have the nobleman announce as they go, 'See how the king rewards someone he wishes to honor.'" Then the king said to Haman, "Hurry, get the robes and the horse, and provide these honors for Mordecai the Jew. Do everything for him that you have suggested. You will find him sitting at the entrance of the palace."
ויבוא המלך והמן לשתות עם אסתר המלכה, ויאמר המלך לאסתר, גם ביום השני במשתה היין, מה שאלתך אסתר המלכה, ותינתן לך, ומה בקשתך עד חצי המלכות, ותעש. ותען אסתר המלכה ותאמר, אם מצאתי חן בעיניך המלך, ואם על המלך טוב, תינתן לי נפשי בשאלתי, ועמי בבקשתי. כי נמכרנו אני ועמי, להשמיד, להרוג ולאבד, ואילו לעבדים ולשפחות נמכרנו החרשתי, כי אין הצער שווה בנזק המלך.
You got one of the fancy lines.
And so the king went to eat with Esther for a second time. Over the wine, wine, the king asked her again, "Now, Queen Esther, what do you want? Tell me and you shall have it. I'll even give you half the empire." Queen Esther answered, "If it please your majesty to grant my humble request, my wish is that I may live and that my people may live. My people and I have been sold for slaughter. If it were nothing more serious than being sold into slavery, I would have kept quiet and not bothered you about it. But, but we are about to be destroyed, exterminated."
Vayomer hamelech Achashverosh, Vayomer l'Esther hamalka, mi hu zeh ve'ezehu, asher mila'u libo, לעשות כן, ותאמר אסתר, איש צר ואויב, המון הרע כזה, והמן נבעט מלפני המלך, והמלך והמלכה, והמלך קם בחמתו ממשתה היין אל גינת הביתן, והמן עמד לבקש על נפשו מאסתר המלכה, כי רע, כי חלתה עליו הרע מאת המלך, והמלך שב מגינת הביתן אל בית משתה היין, והמן נפל על המיטה אשר אסתר עליהם, ויאמר המלך Hagam likvosh et hamalka imi babait hadavar yatsa mipi hamelech ufne haman hafu.
Then King Ahasuerus asked Queen Esther, "Who dares to do such a thing? Where is this man?" Esther answered, "Our enemy, our persecutor, is this evil man Haman." And Haman cringed in terror before the king and the queen. The king got up in a fury, left the room, and went outside to the palace gardens. Haman could see the king was determined to punish him for this, so he stayed behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. He had just thrown himself down on Esther's couch to beg for mercy when the king came back into the room from the gardens. Seeing this, the king cried out, "Does he mean to ravish the queen in my own palace?" The king no sooner said this than Haman's face was covered.
The evil Haman. I wanted one of those. Had gallows built because he wanted to see Mordecai hang. He was so incensed with anger, with hatred, that he just wanted to see him trapped in the loop of that rope. And no matter how tight the knot would be, he definitely wanted to see Mordecai trapped, caught, just couldn't get past it. But as we've heard from the story, just when Haman was on the precipice of success, he would find that it was not Mordecai, but Haman himself who would be caught by the king. Thank you.
There it is. Okay.
Bayom hahu Natan hamelech Ahashverosh l'Esther hamaka et Beit Haman Sarar haYehudim Mordechai balifnei hamelech ki higida Esther mahula Vayasar hamelech et tabato asher hevir me Haman Vayitna leMordechai vatasem Esther et Mordechai al Beit Haman vatosef Esther Vadaber lifnei hamelech, vatifo lifnei raglav, vatichanen lo, lehe'evir et ra'at Haman. Hagagi, ve'et mehashavto, asher hashav al haYehudim.
The same day, King Ahasuerus gave Queen Esther all the property of Haman, the enemy of the Jews. Esther told the king that Mordecai was related to her, and from then on, Mordecai was allowed to enter the king's palace. The king took off his ring with his seal on it, which he had taken back from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai. Esther put Mordecai in charge of Haman's property. Then Esther spoke to the king again, throwing herself at his feet and crying. She begged him to do something to stop the evil plot that Haman, the descendant of Agag, had made against the Jews.
Send in planes. Sorry. Oh, that's not in there? Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
ומרדכי יצא מלפני המלך בלבוש מלכות תכלת וחור ועטרת זהב גדולה ותכריך בוץ וארגמן והעיר שושן צוהלה בשמחה ליהודים הייתה אורה בשמחה וששון ויקר.
Mordecai left the palace wearing royal robes of blue and white, a cloak of fine purple linen, and a magnificent gold crown. Then the streets of Shushan rang with cheers and joyful shouts. For the Jews there was joy and relief, happiness, and a sense of victory.
Great. I love the wine. Right there.
ויאמר המלך לאסתר המלכה בשושן הבירה הרגו היהודים בבית 500 איש ואת 10 בני המן ישר מדינות המלך מעשו ומשאלתך ומה וינתן לך ומבקשי חוד ותעש ותאמר אסתר אם על המלך טוב יינתן גם מחר ליהודים אשר בשושן לעשות כדת היום ואת 10 בני המן יתלו על העץ ויאמר המלך לעשות כן ותינתן דעת בשושן ואת 10 בני המן קלו ויקהלו היהודים אשר בשושן גם ביום 14 לחודש אדר ויהרגו בשושן 300 איש ובביזה לא שלחו את ידם.
He then said to Queen Esther, in Shushan alone, the Jews have killed 500 people, including the 10 sons of Haman. What must they have done out in the provinces? What do you want now? You shall have it. Tell me what else you want, and you shall have it. Esther answered, if it please your majesty, let the Jews in Shushan do again tomorrow what they were allowed to do today, and have the bodies of Haman's 10 sons hung from the gallows. The king ordered this to be done, and the proclamation was issued in Shushan. The bodies of Haman's 10 sons were publicly displayed. On the 14th day of Adar, the Jews of Shushan got together again and killed 300 more people in the city. But again, they did no looting. Wasn't that nice?
ושאר היהודים אשר במדינות המלך נקהלו ועמוד על נפשם, ונוח מאויביהם, והרוג בשונאיהם. 75 אלף ובביזה לא שלחו את ידם, ביום 13 לחודש אדר, ונוח ב14 בו ועשה אותו יום משתה ושמחה. והיהודים אשר בשושן נקהלו ב13 בו וב14 בו, ונוח ב15 בו ועשה אותו יום משתה ושמחה. על כן היהודים הפרזים היושבים בערי הפרזות עושים את יום 14 לחודש אדר שמחה ומשתה ויום טוב ומשלוח מנות איש לרעהו.
The Jews in the provinces also organized and defended themselves. They rid themselves of their enemies by killing 75,000 people who hated them, but they did no looting. This was on the 13th day of Adar. On the next day, the 14th, there was no more killing, and they made it a joyful day of feasting. The Jews of Shushan, however, made the 15th a holiday, since they had slaughtered their enemies on the 13th and 14th, and then stopped on the 15th. This is why the Jews who live in small towns observe the 14th day of the month of Adar as a joyous holiday, a time of feasting and giving gifts of food to one another.
It's more, right? Yes? Isn't there more?
Not in this
No,
book.
not in that one? Did I miss it? Okay. Okay, sorry.
ויכתוב מרדכי את הדברים האלה, וישלח ספרים אל כל היהודים, אשר בכל מדינות המלך אחשוורוש, הקרובים והרחוקים, לקיים עליהם להיות עושים את יום 14 לחודש אדר, ואת יום 15 בו בכל שנה ושנה, כימים אשר נחו בהם היהודים מאויביהם, והחודש אשר נהפך להם מיגון לשמחה ומהבל ליום טוב, לעשות אותם ימי משתה ושמחה, ומשלוח מנות איש לרעהו ומתנות לאביונים. וקיבל היהודים את אשר החלו לעשות, ואת אשר כתב מרדכי עליהם.
Mordecai had these events written down and sent letters to all the Jews near and far throughout the Persian Empire, telling them to observe the 14th and 15th days of Adar as holidays every year. These were the days on which the Jews had rid themselves of their enemies. This was a month that had been turned from a time of grief and despair into a time of joy and happiness. They were told to observe these days with feasts and parties, giving gifts of food to one another and to the poor. So the Jews followed Mordecai's instruction, and the celebration became an annual custom.
But there was no looting.
כי המן בן המדתה הגגי זורר כל היהודים, חשב על היהודים לאבדם, והפיל בור הוא הגורל לאומה מולאבדם, ובבואה לפני המלך אמר עם הספר ישוב מחשבתו הרע, אשר חשב על היהודים על ראשו, ותלו אותו ואת פניו על העץ. על כן קראו לימים האלה פורים על שם הפור. על כן הזאת, ומה ראו אחריך, ומה הגיע עליהם, כי ימוהו וכי יבלו היהודים עליהם, ואז אברהם ועל כל הנלווים עליהם, ולא יעבור להיות עושים את שני הימים האלה, ככתבם וכזמנם, בכל שנה ושנה, והימים האלה נזכרים ונעשים בכל דור ודור, משפחה ומשפחה, מדינה ומדינה, ועיר ועיר, וימי הפורים האלה לא יעברו מתוך היהודים, וזכרם לא יסוף מזרם.
Haman, first word, son of Hammedatha, the descendant of Agag and the enemy of the Jewish people, had cast lots, Purim as they were called, to determine the day for destroying the Jews. He had planned to wipe them out. But Esther went to the king, and the king issued written orders with the result that Haman suffered the fate he had planned for the Jews. He and his sons were hanged from the gallows. That is why the holidays are called Purim, because Mordecai's letter and because of all that happened to them. The Jews made it a rule for themselves, their descendants, and anyone who might become a Jew, that at the proper time each year, these 2 days would regularly be observed according to Mordecai's instructions. It was resolved that every Jewish family of every future generation in every province and every city should remember and observe the days of Purim for all time to come.
ותכתוב אסתר המלכה בת אביחיל ומרדכי היהודי את כל תוקף לקיים את איגרת הפורים הזאת השנית וישלח ספרים על כל היהודים אל 27 מדינה מלכות אחשוורוש, דברי שלום ואמת, לקיים את ימי הפורים האלה בזמניהם, כאשר קיים עליהם מרדכי היהודי ואסתר המלכה, וכאשר קיימו על נפשם ועזרם דברי הצמות וזעקתם, ומאמר אסתר קיים דברי הפורים האלה, ונכתב בספר.
Then Queen Esther, the daughter of Abihail, along with Mordecai, also wrote a letter, putting her full authority behind the letter about Purim which Mordecai had written earlier. The letter was addressed to all the Jews, and copies were sent to all the provinces of the Persian Empire. It wished the Jews peace and security and directed them and their descendants to observe the day of Purim at the proper time, just as they had adopted rules for the observance of fasts at times of mourning. This was commanded by both Mordecai and Queen Esther. Esther's command confirming the rules of Purim was written down on a scroll.
In a moment, we're going to conclude the reading, but not the actual celebration. There's more. But since after the final chapter, we go right into the concluding blessing, I would like to invite the people who are our chanters to come back up to join me for the concluding blessing. Vayasem HaMelech Achashverosh mas al haaretz v'yeh hayam v'chol ma'aseh takbo v'u'arato parashat gedulat Mordechai asher yidlo HaMelech Haloheim ketuvim al sefer divrei hayamim l'malchei madayu faras Ki Mordechai Hayudi Mishneh LaMelech Achashverosh V'gadol HaYudim V'ratzui L'rov Echav Doresh Tov L'amo V'dover Shalom L'chol Zaro.
King Ahasuerus imposed forced labor on the people of the coastal regions of his empire as well as those of the interior. All the great and wonderful things he did, as well as the whole story of how he promised Mordecai the high office, are recorded in the official records of the kings of Persia and Media. Mordecai the Jew was second in rank only to King Ahasuerus himself. He was honored and well liked by his fellow Jews. He worked for the good of his people and for the security of all their descendants.
Are you ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam harav et rivenu v'adan et dinenu v'hanokem et nikmatenu v'meshalem gemul lechol oivei nafshenu v'nifra lanu mikol tzarenu Baruch atah Adonai anifra le'amo Yisrael mikol tzareihem ha'el ha'moshiach. Your turn, everybody. Praised are you, O God of life, whose will it is to end all strife, whose word still hallows Israel's soul, who made us read Queen Esther's scroll. Because her courage and her will, give us strength and spirit still. Strengthen us to keep your ways and help us to live to sing your praise.
So we've finished reading the Megillat Esther. And what have we learned? Perhaps we should be less trusting of politicians. Although I think a lot of us have learned that one already somewhere along the way. You know, maybe the lesson to be taken is not everything may be as it seems. Or perhaps some things sometimes can come a bit out of nowhere. But I think really at the end of this Purim, the lesson should probably just be that perhaps I should just wish everyone a good night and perhaps a good drink. Thank you, everyone. Let's enjoy the rest of the evening out on the courtyard. You are very... Oh, let me turn
Thanks,
off the mic.
everybody online. We're so glad you watched. You turned off the...